Israel accumulates enough troops to attack Rafah. Why are Israel and Rafah at war? The conflict between Israel and the Gaza Strip, including areas like Rafah, is rooted in decades of political, territorial, and religious disputes. The modern history of the conflict dates back to the early 20th century with the rise of Zionism and Arab nationalism. After World War II and the Holocaust, international support grew for the establishment of a Jewish state. This culminated in the creation of Israel in 1948, which was immediately followed by the Arab-Israeli War. The war led to the displacement of many Palestinians, creating a refugee crisis and further entrenching the conflict. The Gaza Strip, including Rafah, became a focal point in this conflict. Initially controlled by Egypt from 1948 until the Six-Day War in 1967, Gaza came under Israeli control after Israel's victory in that war. In 2005, Israel unilaterally withdrew its settlers and military from Gaza, but it maintained control over its borders, airspace, and maritime access. This withdrawal did not lead to peace. Instead, the militant group Hamas, which refuses to recognize Israel and is considered a terrorist organization by Israel and many Western countries, took control of Gaza in 2007. Rafah, a city in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, has often been a flashpoint due to its strategic location bordering Egypt. The city's significance is heightened because it houses the Rafah border crossing, Gaza's only non-Israeli controlled crossing. This crossing is vital for the movement of people and goods, and its control is a contentious issue. The immediate cause of the current hostilities can be traced back to October 7th, when Hamas launched a large-scale attack on Israeli territory, killing over 1,400 people and taking more than 200 hostages. This unprecedented attack prompted a severe military response from Israel, which vowed to dismantle Hamas's military capabilities and leadership. Israel's strategy involved heavy bombardment and a ground offensive to weaken Hamas, who are known to use urban areas as operational bases. Israel's primary objective in Rafah and other parts of Gaza is to neutralize the threat posed by Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly stated that a total victory over Hamas is necessary to ensure the security of Israeli citizens. This includes destroying tunnels used by Hamas for smuggling weapons and fighters, and targeting Hamas leadership. However, as highlighted in the provided content, U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, have expressed skepticism about the feasibility of completely eliminating Hamas through military means alone. They warned that a full-scale ground incursion into Rafah could lead to significant civilian casualties and potentially create a power vacuum that might be filled by other militant groups or result in an insurgency. The humanitarian impact of the conflict is a major concern. Rafah, like the rest of Gaza, is densely populated, and any large-scale military operation risks high civilian casualties and severe disruption to daily life. According to U.S. officials, Israel has not made adequate preparations for the humanitarian fallout, such as ensuring food, hygiene, and shelter for over 1 million Gazans in Rafah. This has led to criticism from the international community, including warnings from President Joe Biden that the U.S. might withhold certain offensive weapons if Israel proceeds with a major ground operation without adequate humanitarian measures. Another critical issue is the future governance of Gaza. Both Israeli and U.S. officials agree that Hamas should not govern Gaza again. However, there is no clear plan for who or what entity would take over governance and security responsibilities post-conflict. Blinken and other U.S. officials have been pressing Israel to engage more seriously in developing a post-war plan for Gaza, emphasizing that the absence of such a plan could lead to chaos and anarchy, potentially allowing Hamas or other militant groups to regain control. The conflict in Rafah has significant geopolitical implications. For Israel, maintaining security and preventing Hamas from regrouping is crucial. For the U.S. and other Western allies, there is a need to balance support for Israel's right to self-defense with concerns over humanitarian impacts and long-term stability in the region. The Biden administration's stance, as reflected in the decision to potentially withhold arms shipments, highlights the delicate balance of supporting an ally while advocating for measures that minimize civilian harm and promote a sustainable resolution. The international community's response, including calls for ceasefires and humanitarian aid, underscores the broader implications of the conflict on global stability and human rights. The war in Rafah between Israel and Hamas is a complex and multifaceted conflict rooted in historical grievances, strategic imperatives, and humanitarian concerns. The actions taken by both sides and the international community's response will shape the future of Gaza and potentially the broader Middle East. Ensuring a resolution that addresses both security and humanitarian needs is essential for lasting peace. How does the Israel and Rafah war affect the world economy? The conflict between Israel and Rafah, part of the broader Israel-Gaza conflict, has significant ramifications not only for the region but also for the global economy. This impact can be examined through various lenses, including energy markets, global trade, investor confidence, and humanitarian aid expenditures. One of the most immediate and tangible impacts of the Israel-Rafah conflict on the global economy is seen in the energy markets. The Middle East is a critical region for the global oil supply, and any instability there tends to create ripples in global oil prices. Although Israel and Gaza are not major oil producers, their proximity to key oil-producing nations and shipping routes means that escalations in violence can lead to fears of broader regional instability. These fears can result in speculative trading that drives up oil prices. Higher oil prices can lead to increased costs for transportation and manufacturing, which in turn can contribute to inflationary pressures worldwide. The ripple effects of these price increases can be particularly damaging to economies heavily dependent on oil imports, exacerbating existing economic challenges and potentially slowing down economic growth. The conflict can also disrupt global trade and supply chains, especially in the region. The Suez Canal, which is not far from the conflict zone, is one of the world's most vital maritime choke points. Any perception of increased risk in the region can lead to higher insurance costs for shipping through the canal and could potentially result in rerouting of ships to avoid the area. This can cause delays and increased shipping costs, impacting industries worldwide that rely on timely deliveries of goods and raw materials. Furthermore, Israel is a significant player in global technology and innovation sectors. Prolonged conflict could disrupt Israel's tech industry, affecting global supply chains for high-tech components and services. This disruption could particularly affect industries such as semiconductors, cybersecurity, and telecommunications, where Israeli companies play a crucial role. Geopolitical instability tends to make global financial markets jittery. The Israel-Rafah conflict, especially if it escalates, can lead to increased volatility in global stock markets. Investors tend to flee to safe haven assets like gold and U.S. Treasury bonds during times of heightened geopolitical tension, which can lead to a decrease in stock prices and increase in the cost of borrowing for businesses and governments. Moreover, prolonged conflict can lead to a reevaluation of investment risks in the region. Investors might pull out their investments or be hesitant to invest in Middle Eastern markets, which could have long-term implications for economic growth in the region. This shift in investor sentiment can also have secondary effects on global markets, especially if major institutional investors reallocate funds from emerging markets to more stable ones. The humanitarian crisis resulting from the conflict necessitates significant international aid and support. Countries around the world, particularly those in the West, may need to increase their financial commitments to provide humanitarian aid to those affected in Gaza and Rafah. This includes funding for food, medical supplies, and rebuilding infrastructure. These financial commitments, while necessary for alleviating human suffering, also mean that resources are diverted from other global economic priorities. Increased government spending on foreign aid can lead to higher budget deficits, especially in countries already dealing with economic challenges. This can result in reduced public spending on domestic programs and can affect economic stability in donor countries. The conflict's regional impact is also significant. Neighboring countries like Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon, which are already dealing with economic and political challenges, could face additional strain from an influx of refugees and increased security concerns. This regional instability can disrupt trade routes, reduce tourism, and create a less favorable environment for investment in the broader Middle East. In addition, the tourism industry, which is a significant part of the economies of many Middle Eastern countries, can suffer greatly. Perceptions of the region as unsafe can lead to a steep decline in tourism revenues, affecting businesses and workers dependent on this sector. The Israel-Rafah conflict, while geographically localized, has extensive and far-reaching implications for the global economy, from affecting energy prices and global trade routes to influencing investor confidence and increasing humanitarian aid burdens. The conflict underscores how interconnected the global economy truly is. Prolonged instability in this region not only exacerbates local and regional economic woes, but also has the potential to slow down global economic growth and increase volatility in financial markets. Ensuring a swift and peaceful resolution to such conflicts is not only a moral imperative, but also a necessary step for maintaining global economic stability. Please leave your opinion below in the comments section.